Live and local on the air, Russ Clark.
Hello.
Hello, John McCain.
Hey, Russ, how you doing?
Senator, we finally made it. Thanks so much for calling in.
I'm sorry for the little confusion there.
That's all right.
Thanks for having me on. I'm coming down to Yuma soon and look forward to being back in one of my favorite cities in all the world.
Well, I just want to warn you to dress cool.
I understand it's a little warm.
It has been. How are things in D.C.? Is it warm? Was it warm there in D.C.?
It's humid, but
okay.
It's always lousy weather.
Well, what about the political environment? Is that lousy too, or is that good?
It's lousy.
It is.
It's really lousy. We're about to ram a bill through the HELP committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which I'm on, which is socialized medicine, which will mean a government take over the healthcare system, and more importantly, cost about $1 trillion we don't have. And but look, elections have consequences, and we're fighting a good fight. John Kyle and I are, and I think the American people are beginning to figure out that we did not want the government to take over automotive companies, banks, lending institutions, and the healthcare system in America.
Well, according to Pelosi, from what I've read, she says that's going to get through before the August recess.
Well, this proposal is very much like a fish out in the sun. After a period of time, it really begins to stink. They know they've got to get this thing, ram this thing through before the August recess. Otherwise, the American people will get more and more information about it, and they can't get it through. So they're going to try to rush it through, and we're talking about over $1 trillion in just a couple of weeks, and other aspects of this bill that are, that are so impactful for frankly the next 30, 40, 50 years that it's really it's unlike anything quite unlike anything I've ever seen.
Senator, from what I understand, it's only going to be released today. No one's had a chance to really look at the details of this bill yet.
Well, not only look at the details, but also look at the costs.
Right.
$1 trillion, and they're going to raise people's taxes now. I understand the House side just raised people's taxes, and the old liberal left wing tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich.
Do we have any rich left?
We got fewer of them, but the point is that also that when you say you're going to increase certain taxes a certain amount on any group of Americans and therefore get that additional revenue, you never do. You never do, because people find ways of not paying taxes, or they don't make as much money and they don't have as much in taxes. And here we are with a 9.5% unemployment. Times are tough in Yuma. Times are tough in Phoenix. Times are tough in Superior, where the population has been cut in half, where we're trying to get the Resolution Copper Mine open, and the Obama administration is blocking approval of the land exchange necessary to do so. But anyway, I'm still looking forward to the Marines getting the F-35, and we're working hard on that.
I was reading where you wanted to cut some funding for the F-22s.
I want to shift the funding from the F-22 to the F-35, which is the Joint Strike Fighter.
Correct.
As you know, the Joint Strike Fighter is Marine, Navy, and Air Force. The F-22 is a great airplane. We've built enough of them. Now we need to take that money and put it into the Joint Strike Fighter. The Marine Corps needs a new fighter, okay? The Navy does, and so does the Air Force. And so what I'm trying to do is go ahead and end the production, which Secretary Gates wants to do, of F-22 at 187 airplanes, and move the money into the F-35. And they have cut money for the Joint Strike Fighter to continue the F-22. You see my point?
I do, and I've heard some experts talking about the F-22, saying it's such a great aircraft that put up against the F-35s, it could take down 30 of them.
Well, also, could I point out the F-22 has not been used in Iraq or Afghanistan?
I do know that.
I mean, isn't that incredible when you think about it?
Yeah, we already have in excess of 100 of them.
Yeah, and they've not been used.
And they don't fly them.
Yeah, it's been problems with it. And look, I'm all for the F-22. I was all for it at the beginning. I just think it's time now to stop it, in the view of Secretary Gates, and get going on the Joint Strike Fighter.
Are you winning that battle?
Well, we're on the floor with it, and the vote will come either today or tomorrow. I mean, we, a bunch of the senators are going to the All-Star game, so we wouldn't want them to miss that.
Yeah,
so it may be today or tomorrow.
The unemployment numbers, and you mentioned 9.5%, and I know when we passed this first stimulus package, we were promised by the administration it wouldn't go above 8%.
Oh, yeah, that was it, and it was going to be an immediate stimulus. I mean, you really got to get a recording of all those statements by the president and others and just run them. I mean, it's ridiculous.
We had shovel-ready programs, according to them.
And I want to point out to all of our listeners, we had an alternative proposal. It had tax cuts. It had help for small businesses. It had incentives for small businesses. We had real shovel-ready projects, not these 3-4 year long projects, and now the stimulus package is full of, as you know, pork barrel projects. We had an alternative that would have worked. The president is very good rhetorically. He sets up a straw man and then knocks it down. He's claiming that we Republicans wanted to do nothing. Nothing could be further from the truth. But look, here now I see on the front page of the Wall Street Journal that we may have to bail out, quote, CIT, big financial institution, right? What are we doing for the small business guy in Yuma that's closing up the storefront today? We're telling these big institutions and Goldman Sachs and all these people that you're too big to fail, but yet we're telling the small business person you're too small to save. What's that all about?
I think that's right. Unfortunately, Senator, I don't like to hear it. As a small business guy, I can tell you it's tough out there.
Well, Senator, I'd like to ask
you. Can I mention one good note? I understand your son graduated from the Air Force Academy, and he's up at Luke Air Force Base. Thank you and your family for serving.
Well, and you're exactly right. And I thank you for mentioning it. And I was just reading about Jack McCain too. He just graduated. Where's he stationed?
He's going to Pensacola to pilot training.
Oh, he is going to be. He's going to follow in your footsteps.
I hope he's a better pilot than I am. And I'm sure at some point he's going to be training out at Yuma.
This seems to be a hot spot right now.
The best place on earth to train pilots.
Speaking of all the training we got going on right now, and a lot of it is pilots and people going on to Afghanistan, are we doing an Iraq-type surge in Afghanistan?
We're doing it so far, but I'm very worried. I'm very worried that when the news in the last few days has been that General McChrystal, the new general out over there, who, by the way, is a great general, is going to be saying that we need more troops. And that was the same decision that President Bush faced. And President Bush got the sufficient number of troops over there for the surge to succeed. President Obama has not made that decision yet. He is awaiting General McChrystal's specific requests. But I'm worried because, remember, the president was against the surge. The vice president wanted to divide Iraq into 3 countries.
Oh, yeah.
His national security advisor, General Jones, wanted to withdraw American troops to the borders. I mean, so I'm concerned. I'm concerned. And I predicted, and you knew, Russ, and you both knew that casualties are going to go up when we went into the south of Afghanistan. We cannot afford to have Afghanistan return to a base where radical extremists launch attacks against the United States and our allies. That's all. That summarizes it.
Well, hopefully they've learned some lessons from Iraq, and I know you were, Senator, one that was behind the surge huge publicly when it wasn't popular.
You know, at the time of my campaign, I said I'd much rather lose a campaign than lose a war.
And the fact that we're winning in Iraq hugely now, we've pulled out of the cities, it doesn't get much press.
You'd never know that President Obama wanted to pull out immediately, which would have been tantamount to giving Iraq to radical Islamic extremists. By the way, I think that the people in the Straits of Tehran were inspired by the Iraq example of a stumbling but certainly a good democracy, certainly compared to what's going on in Iran. Well, by the way, on Iran, I think it's a matter of time now before they fall.
Well, and that was my next question, because we don't hear anything. They've cut off communication. They've cut off the Internet. They've cut off cell phone towers. We're not getting a lot of news out of Iran, at least in my area.
No, they've repressed them just the way the Soviets repressed the Prague Spring and the workers in Poland. I think that their seminal events, they're just events. and one of them, a seminal event, was when that young woman, Neda, we all saw her bleed to death in the street.
It's horrible. Yeah.
That's a tipping point in my view.
Now
but don't underestimate the repressiveness of this regime either.
No, they seem to know how to do it.
Yeah, beat, kill, shoot.
And this is they want to be a nuclear country. Can we allow that to happen?
We cannot, and we got to try to do everything we can to try to dissuade them from that. If the Israelis feel that the Iranians reach a certain point, almost every expert believes that the Israelis will act to prevent them from obtaining this nuclear capability. So time is not on our side. It's a very difficult situation. But a nuclear-armed Iran bent on the, quote, wiping Israel off the map, and also is unacceptable. Also, the other nations in the region would also become nuclear as well.
Yeah.
It's very serious. It's incredibly serious.
Getting back to the Senate for just a minute, 60 senators now, Democrat. Does that change a lot?
It doesn't too much, because two of the senators have not been back because of illness, but also we have a couple of three senators who side with the Democrats sometimes on very key issues.
Okay.
There's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of there's some moderate Democrats from places like Nebraska and Arkansas, Missouri, that are basically very moderate states that aren't going to sign on to everything as well. It's kind of a fluid situation, but the fact that the Democrats now have 60 votes is a wake-up call to us Republicans. Mm-hmm. Got to do things different. We got to stand up for what we believe in. We got to stop this pork barrel outrageous spending and energize our base. America's a right of center nation. This administration is governing from the far left. We have an opening, but we've got to come up with a real strong agenda to regain the alliance of Republicans and independents.
Senator, I appreciate your time. Running out of time. Hope to see you in Yuma later this week.
I'm going to be there on Friday, and I really look forward to it. As you know, my history with it goes all the way back to my early days as a Navy pilot, where I was able to do my part for helping the economy of Yuma and this county.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.